A true lesson to study on how to make epic characters. That is what this drama is. You want to know how? Watch this drama. So go enjoy. Okay, let's try this again. Hello and thanks for clicking on this video. The insanely overpacked insanity of a couple of weeks is finally done, and I am finally here able to film this video, which I have been waiting for and excited about to do, because the drama I'm going to talk about today is the 7 Relics of Omen. It's a 32 episode drama, and I watched it while it was airing. It was ridiculously frustrating when I caught up because this drama was insanely addicting. It took me forever. I couldn't, what on earth is it about this drama that was so addicting? Because it was so addicting. Let's go through this. I'm reading a script, and you can most likely hear my dishwasher going. Sorry about that. Okay, reading a script. From that opening scene, I was hooked. I don't know, there's something about just the feel of it. The way they filmed it, the sound, and what they focused on, and it sucked me right in with this feeling that they captured. And it just hooked me there. And it stayed. It is the same relaxed, natural inclusion feeling throughout this entire drama that I got from the Bronze Door. Adventure Behind the Bronze Door. And if you saw either one of my videos on that one, I mean, it's pretty incredible. It's kind of mind-blowing to me that I feel the same way about the 7 Relics as I did about the Bronze Door. Because I'm like, the Bronze Door has a huge wealth of history behind it. That was not the first season that I had seen. I'd been through how much of a journey already with these people before I reached this one. Whereas with the Relics of 7 Omens, I met them in this one. 32 episodes. That's all that I knew these people. And yet, the level of attachment I felt toward them and toward this whole drama was on the same level as the Bronze Door. Mind blown. This drama is a sci-fi fantasy adventure, and yet weirdly it is so relatable. I actually feel comfortable calling it a comfort drama. Unsettling and frightening and creepy. But it oddly doesn't over-dramatize most stuff, and it never left me stressed out or high-strung or unable to calm down. I want to rewatch it, and I don't think I word it this way usually, but it's literally because I miss it. The characters are so real, so well done, with strengths and flaws that are realistic and blend together so well you almost can't tell them apart. And the relationship building and the group dynamic of this group, I actually forgot that they are as old as they are, not as young as, for once. Because, in so many dramas, I don't realize until most of the way through the drama, if at all, that they're supposed to be 16 to 19 years old. Because the Chinese especially are infamous for using 30-year-olds to play 16 and 19-year-olds and whatnot. And I'm supposed to just know that they're that young. So these people that are way too old to be portraying somebody that young, it doesn't feel like they're that young because people that old aren't that young. And there's a completely different feeling. It's so not relatable. It's not natural. It's not right. And I'm like, what? It's somebody trying to pretend to be that young. And you can tell that they're trying to do it, not that they actually are. But in this one, it was weird. I was I felt like the characters were around 19 or something like that. And yet, no, man, they're supposed to be around 23. Between 21 and 23. I don't know if any of them, maybe 24 maximum. I'm guessing all of the characters were probably about the same age as the actor and actresses that played them. So, wow. That made it, so much more realistic, so much more, I was there with them. It sucked me right in. More in depth on characters in a minute. And that's what the majority of this video is going to be about, is exploring the characters individually. First, weirdness of things in plot, how to even describe, not quite jiving. It was just odd sometimes. The script or decisions or focus or info timing, etc., etc. It was odd sometimes. I mean, just take as a picture example. The bar is supposed to be on a street outside. And yet, you just look at this, and you know without a shadow of a doubt that this is a set inside of a building. It is not outside. There is no natural sky. These are not actual streets. This is entirely man-made set-up streets. So you get this weird feeling just looking at that. And that is the weird feeling that I got for a whole lot of the story and a whole lot of what was happening within this story. Watch the drama and hopefully you'll understand what I'm talking about. And yet, where on earth was I? And yet after saying that, the story itself was intriguing and it did pull me in with curiosity. One thing I don't like is the weirdness of Mu Dai's fixation on her crush in the middle of everything else that was going on. Like, girl, seriously? Time and place? The crap. But after the talk about not waiting for an unknown when at such an early stage of crush, etc., I actually really liked that conversation. Despite how fixated she was on it, her acknowledging that this is just a crush right now. She knows full well that she doesn't know him. So no, it's not gone any deeper than a crush yet, and she knows that. Although there was a downside to it too, I sort of touch on later. But ever since that stage, it was uphill for the rest of the drama. One other thing that sucked was, massive spoiler here. Massive. This is the massive spoiler of the drama. There's a couple other spoilers, but this is the most massive one that you might not want to hear if you haven't watched the drama yet. Is when you find out that Tasha is not dead. And I was glad the story didn't just skip over that entirely, because Mu Dai did give us an update, but it was a super negative update, and we never once got to see Luo Ren's reaction to the fact that she is alive. When she showed up behind him, it skipped away, and we walked back on screen with him already down, and after he wakes up, he says nothing. Like, maybe he thought he was just seeing things, but there's literally nothing. Given how, no matter how short a time she was with him, she called him daddy, and everyone that knew her called her Luo Ren's daughter. So the drama set up this incredibly strong bond. Given his conversation with Mu Dai about something in her life later on, like, it flopped on this point. It really flopped. They set up such an incredibly strong bond that was part of a huge trauma of his, and then she's alive, and we get to see nothing from him as a reaction to that. That sucked. That was probably my biggest objection to this drama, was that. Done with the spoiler. On the flip side, while sometimes characters acted a little oddly in response to stuff, there were many times where they acted so correctly. It was awesome. Like when the other main characters find out about one of them getting buried alive. There was a definitively appropriate moment of silently shocked cringe over that before anyone moved on, and that I personally highly appreciated. Especially considering that I am claustrophobic. And with that, let's move into character analysis, because I don't want to rabble on for a million years over this drama like I easily could, so my overall of everything else is kind of that, and now the vast majority of what I want to focus on is the characters, and what made them strong versus weak. What were their flaws, and why did this actually make them better? The fact that they had these flaws. Let's get into it. The characters analysis. Overall, these characters are so cool because they grow on you in an unexpected way. Because the way they do it, I didn't even realize this is what was actually going on, but this is a good way of wording it. This is what was happening. It's like getting to know people in real life. You don't understand stuff at first, and personally, I found some of them annoying or weird and potentially not very well acted, but then I started understanding and recognizing behaviors, and everything started making sense. Like when you meet a stranger that turns into an acquaintance and then a close friend, and their flaws are so solidly built into them, it's as important and realistic as their strengths. The building blocks everyone uses, i.e. stereotypes, but they stand out as completely unique because the author wasn't lazy about it. They didn't just plop in a stereotype and use that and whatever and didn't care. They aren't just stereotypes. They are carefully crafted individuals that I now miss and want to go spend more time with. It's like I say, strangers to acquaintances to friends. This is taking character building to an all new level here. So let's just go over some of what I mean with each one of them, from least significant to top favorite characters. Support characters. There is Jiang Shu and Zhang Bo, and that spelling right here, I know their names are said different, but I don't know Mandarin well enough. These were like head of house people for Ping-Ting and Luoren and for Mu Dai. So sometimes naggy, and at one point I was mad at Zhang Bo because Luoren literally told him stop that. And he's like, huh, why? And proceeds to 100% ignore what Luoren said and keep doing what he told him to stop doing anyway. Like, dude, seriously. That was... But you can see the care these two men have for the job they do, caring for the people that they care for. And in Jiang Shu's case, he's the manager at the bar, as well as someone who cares quite a lot about Mu Dai. And, like, you can tell that these guys have known these people for a long time. Like, they're part of their core reality. So you see all of that playing out for both characters and for the main characters that interact with them during different situations in the show. And it's pretty cool. Ping-Ting could be considered a spoiler if I talk about her too much in depth because of how she's introduced. But she and Miss Hong are significant at the beginning of the story, then become anchors of somewhat importance, in a way more so than Bo and Shu do, but in a way less so as the story progresses. They show up when needed, but also disappear quite a lot because, like people in real life, they don't just entirely disappear, but they are realistically where they should be when something specific brings them back in. Like, this is how support characters really should be done. As support characters, we don't want to entirely forget them when they have such a strong personal tie to our main characters, but we also do not want them being spotlit to the point of taking attention away from the main characters, because they aren't main characters. This is something I complain about all the time. I don't know why, like, the Asians don't think that there is such a thing as support characters, apparently, because there are so many dramas where, like, you have the main characters, and then you have the support characters. And I'm like, I'm starting to feel like we are having equal amounts of time spent with these people over here that have literally their own story going on. It's over there, and it's like, it's got nothing to do with the main story. It's completely distracting, and it's beyond irritating. I don't know, apparently there are some people like that, but if you're going to do that, don't call them support characters. They're like... They're support characters, and yet they aren't treated like support characters. You don't understand how frustrating this is unless you're someone like me that understands that there's a difference between main characters and support characters. If they're support characters, treat them like support characters. And that is what this drama did. They treated their support characters like support characters. Important people in the lives of the main characters, but support characters. They supported the story. Zhang Mingshan. I didn't like it first. I mean, I was like, okay, stereotypical guy that's, like, slightly annoying. And then he got super annoying later because he was so freaking arrogant. You guys are being ridiculous. Like, everything is perfectly fine attitude. Like, dude, would you freaking get off your high horse and listen to them for a minute? I don't care how confident you are in your master. When people won't even listen when someone brings up a concern, I am so done with them. Like, go away. I don't like you. But by the end of the story, I did like Mingshan because he went, oh, oops, wow, sorry. And he had enough of a background to color his part in the present story. And one of the things I appreciated most about him was the way he understood where Luo Ren was coming from. So he didn't try to convince him of anything. But the minute he walked away, Mingshan wakes everyone up and explains what's happening to give them a fair and justified say in the matter, because he knows they deserve it. And then he doesn't just leave it all up to them when they are not qualified. He knows they aren't qualified, and he guides and leads and protects them well, including them. Thank you, Mingshan. Thank you all around for that whole thing. It was so awesome. He wasn't too big and he wasn't too small. He played the part he needed to play. Like, in so many of these things, like, your main character is supposed to be the one doing things because they are the main character. Like, you want to see the main character doing things. You don't want to see all the big moments stolen away by some support character. The main character is supposed to be doing it. However, it drives me insane when main characters are doing things that they aren't qualified to do. They don't know how to do this. They've never done this before. They don't know how to handle this situation. These guys, most of the main characters here, they had never been in a situation like this before. They had, like Luo Ren said, they've never even seen a gun, never mind held a gun. They have no clue what to do here to keep themselves safe. Even if they were fighters, like Hangsha has a little bit of fighting ability, she has no idea what a gun is. Like, how is she supposed to use a gun? And Mingshan knows that. And instead of, like, the main characters just, like, being plopped into the middle of a situation they have no idea how to handle, but somehow brilliantly pulling it off, no. This author, this creator, these people that made this story brought Mingshan in there, and he knows something, and he teaches them enough of what to do, and then he leads the way and guides them along it to make sure that they manage to pull this off without everybody dying. That was awesome. That was really cool, and because of that, I really liked Mingshan by the end of the story. Well done. Then there's Shen Kun. He kind of should be listed as a main character, or there should be a category that specifies something in between main character and support character, because he's extremely important to the story and is therefore focused on for a reason. His personal life and backstory are never gone into because they are not important to the story. We had setting and a brief description set him up, and then what he does during the story speaks for itself. And again, this is actually super well done. We need details in order to connect with people. Like, this has happened in other stories. If someone is just a total blank mystery, you end up, or I at least, end up like, dude, how did you get in here and why am I following you? Like, who are you? Where did you come from? Why are you here? What is going on? This is really annoying. But if you give too much detail, it's like, dude, you aren't a main character. Why are you in my face? I'm getting overloaded. If you make everybody in your story a main character, that is too much. You need main characters and you need support characters. Not everybody can be spotlit. Like I said, that is a huge thing that so many Asian dramas do wrong. They spotlight literally everybody, even if they're just a support character. Like, stop spotlighting literally everybody. It's too much. There is a balance here. Shen Kun is a perfectly balanced example of well-done middle ground. He is subtly hilarious, he's quirky in a natural way, he's smart and loyal and active in his own curiosity, as well as in the curiosity necessary to help the group of people he needs to help. It was adorable when he brought the bracelets for them. And this is a spoiler, but whether the story intended for this to be the case or not, to me, in the end, when he got caught in the middle of the main characters getting pulled together, it felt like he was somehow, in a way, preventing them from melding together because he was physically, like, in the way. Their bodies physically couldn't get any closer because he was, like, there, wedged in the way. And, like, though he was not pulled in mentally, he was still part of the battle. He was, like, protecting and supporting and helping them to win. Physically taking care of their bodies and pulling them apart and getting in the way so they can't meld together. Like, that's what I got out of it, and I really like that picture, because Shen Kun does that throughout the entire drama. He's like a dad or an uncle or something to this group of young people, muddling their way through difficult and confusing circumstances, and I love it. I love that dynamic. It was so cool. Like, I am so tired of these stories. Like, I really am so tired. Like, all of these young adult fiction, whatever, where, like, the 18-year-olds or even the 21-year-olds or whatever, these young, inexperienced people that don't know what they're doing, they're the heroes that literally save the whole world. They lead the way, and all the adults are portrayed as these, like, basically idiot people that don't have a clue what to do, despite the fact they're the mature adults, experienced adults, whatever. They're, like, dumb, or they're, like, emotional idiots, or they're like, I don't know, they're just not dependable, or they're helpless, or they just, no, you got it, we'll just be over here, like, whatever. I'm so tired of that being the way it's being portrayed. But Shen Kun is that older person that's like, he's there guiding the way, just like with Ming Shen. Both of them, they're like, they get involved, and they're like guiding lights that help these guys without acting, I mean, they don't treat them like they're kids or anything like that, but at the same time, they have, like, this sheltering under their wings kind of attitude, helping them to grow, helping them to, like, bring out all of their strengths, and at the same time being there supporting and protecting them while they're doing it and everything. And they're like, I love it. It's so cool. Now the main characters. And this is going to take long because there's 5 of them. The least favorite to favorite here. For fun, make a guess, and then leave it in the comments if you were right or not in when it comes to what order I'm going to list them in. Do you got it? Do you need to pause? Okay, let's get started. From least favorite to my favorite characters. Can you guess what order they'll be in? Okay, the first one, my least favorite character, is Xiao Yanhua, i.e. Chubby. I forget, it's probably Panza is what they call him, which I've seen translated as fatty most of the time. Fatso, fatty, like literally Grave Robber Chronicles, fatty. But, like, Panza is an insanely overused nickname. I am telling you, practically every story I've seen has a Panza. Practically all of them. I think this drama itself had more than one. I'm positive there was at least 2 people that were called Chubby. And he's not really fat. Chubby is more accurate, but... Anyway, least favorite because for me personally, it's a character type. I'm just not very attracted to his type of character. I mean, in a way, he is the most boring because he is so normal. But also, Lu Ren was talking with Wan San about Yanhua at one point, and he was right. Yanhua is determined and hardworking. He grows up a lot in this drama. He's dependable and loyal and brave. His biggest flaw would maybe be that he's sort of clumsy and not very smart. I mean, if left on his own, he's not stupid, no. You can't blame him for not seeing the danger in that one situation like Mu Dai and Hangsha didn't either. But I think he does have a tendency to walk into situations more unprepared than any of the other characters walking in. Even though he says he wants to learn martial arts, he's the most unsuited for it, in my opinion, because it's just not where he fits. He doesn't come across as that kind of guy. He's the kind of guy a girl would want to marry because after the action and adventures are all said and done, he would be the most dependable husband and father type of guy because he is most suited, in my opinion, for the events of normal day-to-day life. That's where he fits in best, in my opinion. Now I run into the problem here because by the end of the drama, I actually don't know who would technically be next on the list. Sorry, I don't really have a whole lot to say about Yanhua. I did not dislike him. I liked all of these characters. Moving on. Because this is going to be long enough even without rambling. I actually don't know who technically would be next on the list. I'm positive they are not tied, but in a way they are tied. So no matter which way you listed them when you were guessing which would come next, if you listed these 3 in any order, I will say you are right. These 3 being Mu Dai, Lu Ren, and Hangsha, which automatically gives away who my favorite character in this drama is. But anyway, that's the order I'll talk about them in. Mu Dai, then Lu Ren, then Hangsha. Mu Dai, i.e. Pocket, or Pockety? I don't know, dude. I forget what the reason for it was. Like, Pocket? What kind of a nickname is that? Either way, I'm calling her Mu Dai. First of all, the non-spoiler version, and then we go into the spoiler that was introduced super awkwardly, in my opinion, but ended up being a very, very interesting aspect of the story. Okay, part 1, i.e. spoiler-free. Mu Dai, at first, I was like, no offense to the actress, but what is up with this character? She's weird. She felt shallow and like she never had the right reaction to anything. And I was a little annoyed by her. I mean, the way she smiles or laughs at things that to me did not warrant a smile or a laugh. And like I already mentioned, her fixation on crushing on Lu Ren, even in the middle of everything happening with Ping Ting. Like, Mu Dai, what the actual crap? However, I changed my mind about her, and here's why. Because it turns out, the way she smiles and laughs and things, I think, is partly her personality and partly one of her ways of surviving in life. Basically, the more you find out about her past, the more you go, oh. And there's the thing. She is awkward. But it turns into an enduring trait of hers that matches with one of her flaws, that being her tendency to cry very easily. And yet, even when she cries, it's not an attention-grabbing thing. It's not a loud, obnoxious, spotlight-seeking thing. It's a quiet moment of weakness and vulnerability that puts her humanity and relatability on display. And all of this made me pull closer to her as a result. She is the only main character that knows martial arts. She has unrealistic abilities and is one of the 2 main fighters in this story. But even so, the reason she learned that in the first place and how she uses it molds together with her personality. And also, in the middle of her being a strong girl, there are situations she still can't entirely handle alone. And one of the single moments that made me love her is the fact she instantly started crying and shivering because she was so scared when Luo Ren held the knife to her throat. She walked away shaking because she is human, because she is a girl, because this is not normal and normal humans react this way. And also because of her background story. Like, she's sensible, she is strong, but she wears a cute little cat face hair tie on her wrist. She is weak, but she is not helpless. She is a young woman, but she is also smart and quick thinking. I loved her character. She was cute. Now for part 2, i.e. the spoiler part about this character, is the introduction of Black Mu Dai. Because the one I just described is White Mu Dai. Now, is it DID? Is what Luo Ren literally asks when he finds out about this. And it's what Mu Dai thought. This goes back to the super awkward introduction of stuff. It's for a ridiculous reason, in my opinion, that she thinks this. One of the not jiving parts of the story. Given it was one instance, and all of a sudden she's thinking, do I have DID? Like, it's like they ignored all the big obvious reasons that could have easily explained why, and jumped to something like, the story did not do a good job of explaining it to me, or like they saw something I didn't see, or experienced something I didn't experience, or whatever. Like, why are you guys skipping over all of these obvious reasons that perfectly well explain why, like, he says, oh, she doesn't remember that he called her name. To me, it's perfectly plausible she didn't even hear him, considering what was happening. And considering this was not a normal situation, there were supernatural aspects happening here, and yet neither one of them blame the supernatural aspects. They just go, oh my gosh, she forgot that I called her name. So maybe, I'm like, how did we jump from this to this? What did I miss? What is going on? But yeah. Is this DID? Well, Luo Ren asked a doctor that, and the doctor replied, me paraphrasing here, basically, that it sort of is, but it's not at all like the DID cases the doctor normally deals with, and therefore it's not exactly DID. It's something unique. Something related, but not the same. So in other words, I am personally grateful that the story said that, because it leaves the story with room to explore something without giving people a shaky, confusing version of something that's too important to be freely creative with. If that makes sense, I'm moving on. With that setup, we are introduced to Black Mu Dai. And there is a whole section of the story where she is the one we are following. She takes over from White Mu Dai, and Miss Hong already knows about her, but this is where White Mu Dai apparently finds out about her. And I say apparently because this was confusing and another not jiving point to me. Because, like, when they talk to the doctor, you find out that Mu Dai and Black Mu Dai talked before. But, like, what? Mu Dai thought she was just talking to herself? Or she forgot entirely about this conversation? Like, after that conversation, I don't understand why Black Mu Dai pulled back. It was White Mu Dai that wanted to end everything, and Black Mu Dai that said, don't you dare, and yet Black Mu Dai pulls back and stays away and lets Mu Dai, like, what did she do? Are they saying that Black Mu Dai took everything and pulled it back over here, so White Mu Dai just, like, all of it was gone, and that's how she survived and lived? Because it was all gone, but that wasn't entirely true, because she still remembered her friends. That's why she started martial arts, is because she knew that if she knew martial arts, she could have had that situation turn out differently. And yet, all of a sudden, Black Mu Dai had to take over in order to stop her from ending everything right then and there, but they had this short conversation, and Black Mu Dai left, and White Mu Dai is completely 100% fine and not trying to end everything anymore. I'm like, that was confusing. And Mu Dai apparently completely forgot about Black Mu Dai, because now this thing happens and she goes, oh, I forgot stuff, or it's like I was completely unaware of this stuff. Do I have DID? And I'm like, how do you not already know that you had DID? So it was confusing. It was confusing. Yeah. So This is where Luo Ren definitely finds out about it, and where all the others do too. And Wan San, why are you skirting around it? Just ask blatantly. Does she have the ID? Luo Ren stops. I love Wan San. I'll get to it. We're not there yet. Okay. Personally, while I'm not entirely comfortable with the blurry line of you two are the same person anyway, so they all treat her like she is the exact same person, just not quite herself right now. There's also an element of recognizing that she is not entirely the same person. They do kind of recognize that she's not the same. She is, but she's not. For Yanhua, he's all weirded out and doesn't know how to react. And for Luo Ren, of course, he just went from the girl who's hugging him and holding his hand and wanting to be his girlfriend and all the rest of this stuff to a girl that won't even let him touch her shoulder. So he's understandably shaken. And then there's Wan San, who almost finds it all just funny. And he and Hung Sha, both what they say about it and their whole attitude, and they just shrug it off and keep on going like it's just another day. I'm like, you do. I don't know, there was something really funny about that whole dynamic. And Wan San is trying not to burst out laughing when they first had their meeting with Black Mu Dai, and she's being so snarky and all this stuff. He's just this is highly entertaining to him. It was just so funny. It was just funny, okay? Just go watch it. And then while it kind of seems like Black Mu Dai disappears once this arc is over, she actually doesn't disappear. More spoilers within spoilers here. She comes back later in the story. And it's in a well-done, believable kind of way that she comes back. I mean, it's believable that she fades away here because, apparently she did for, 8 years. She just took all of this and left everything up to White Mu Dai. And then she came back when it was necessary and decided this is my time, and right now I'm just going to, because I have something that, guess what, I'm not over, so I want to deal with it first, at the very least. And then she's dealing with it, and she pulls back again. She's only there when she's needed, and otherwise she pulls back and leaves it up to White Mu Dai. And, she disappears for a while, and then she comes back for another part of the story, and while she does, more spoilers within spoilers, while she does disappear after that part, the things that Mu Dai and Luo Ren say about it, I'm annoyed because basically all of these stories do that. All or almost all have a final fusion wrap-up rather than a continued coexistence, which is so predictable that it sucks by this point. I would kind of like to have one of these stories have them as a continued coexistence rather than having one of them disappear, because the detective, he wasn't entirely gone yet, but that seems like there was supposed to be a season 2 and there was never a season 2. Would he have disappeared in season 2? Probably, because they are obsessed. All of the Asian dramas I've seen, it feels like there should have been a couple of them where they didn't fuse in the end, but all the ones I can think of off the top of my head, they fuse in the end. It's wrapped up with the fusion. Final fusion. There's only one left. Rather than there being a continued coexistence. So it would be kind of nice if they would actually write a story where it just continued coexistence. But anyway, another tangent that I wasn't supposed to take because this is already 36 minutes long and I'm not even halfway done. Well, maybe I'm halfway done. I also think given how they set this up and played it out in this story, the wrap-up was satisfactory. About as satisfactory as you could possibly get. And at least for once, they were like, Black Mu Dai is not evil, not even bad, which they sort of kind of seemed like they were going to try to lean toward, and then very quickly, no, that's not the case. That's not what the story is doing. Because those are the typical stereotypes that are overused in the story's way, But Black Mu Dai is not even actually a bully. I.e., I would say she's actually not even a persecutor alter. She's full-on, straight up, from start to finish, a slightly misunderstood protector. Which was really cool. Because, remember, this is within a story thing. Stories tend to fixate on certain things, and I'm okay, by this point, I've had so many stories fixate on that, even whether, if some of them do it terribly and some of them do it really good. Even if I had, 20 stories where they all did it really good, by the end of the 20 stories, I'm variation would be nice. This one varied it, so it was nice. That's what I'm saying. I liked Black Mu Dai. I did. I liked her just as much as I liked White Mu Dai. Even she had her own story and her own quirks and her own growth. I think it added something to the story rather than being just some kind of throwaway plot twist or some kind of you're just bringing in as many tropes as possible to make this story drag out. No, like, it had an actual point. It had an actual purpose. It added to the depth and made sense within this character and within this story. So I appreciated it. Moving on to Luo Ren, i.e. Radish, which is a much less awkward nickname in English than Pocket, but most people called him Luo Ren, and Radish is still... So anyway, Luo Ren. He is the most grown-up / mature young adult character in the drama right from the beginning, and once his background story is finally revealed, it's abundantly clear why. He is the other main fighter. He is not a martial artist. I forget what type of fighting they said he was. Like, he has street fighting kind of style, but also like a soldier kind of style. Or is it like a bodyguard? I don't know. Either way, he can use his fists and legs, and he also uses a knife quite a lot, because he has a knife on him on his hip at all times. He is strong, he is focused, he makes plans, and knows how to utilize high-tech as well as low-tech tools to get the job done. He's well prepared when it comes to survival. Like, they comment at least once, if not twice, how, like, he always has everything that's needed within his backpack. Like, at one point, he's like, what is with all this food and etc. in you guys' backpack? Why do you not have the actual essentials? Like, you dummies. That's Luo Ren for you. He has what's necessary to survive. Even the way he navigates things like building a relationship with Mu Dai. I mean, I think she was being rather selfish on one hand by acting like there was something wrong with him when he was holding back, instead of admitting he liked her. Like, girl, he says there's life in danger situation happening here, and that's why he's holding back. And she pretty much rolls her eyes. Like, wow. Like, what, you didn't think he was being serious or something? Ah, that's a pathetic excuse. I'm like, huh? Anyway, Luo Ren finally admits he likes her, and boom, everything with the spoiler of Mu Dai happens, and the way Luo Ren handles that. You can see the flaws shining through him again, but they are coupled with his strengths. Because Luo Ren is strong and unshakable, but he is not fearless. And that's going into, like, his weaknesses. The further you go in the story, the more obvious it is. He's got a lot of fear hiding under the surface when it comes to growing attachments and losing them, because of what happened in his not-so-distant past. And this makes him cautious, and in some ways too cautious, but it also keeps him moving forward half the time out of pure necessity. He can't stop. People are depending on him. But also, as the story goes on, this is one of the things he learns, to depend on others again. They need him, but he also needs them. And it's okay to admit that. One thing about him that made him a little lower on the list was perhaps just the way the story itself treated him. I mean, it got a little much when he got hurt that badly that many times, but kept surviving and recovering so fast. I mean, it wasn't so unrealistic that it was straight up irritating and stupid, but I really don't think it was entirely realistic enough to be realistic either. So I was like, Either way, I loved his character. There was enough vulnerability and humanity about him right from the start, because his story comes first. But there's also a lot of mystery about him, because he actually is still a closed book that doesn't get entirely opened until the end of the drama, when his full story is brought to light. So, Yan Hangsha is next. She had a nickname, Fiery, but as far as I noticed, it was mainly Wan San that called her that. This character is straight up weird for me, because she went from being on the bottom to jumping up to a tie, to being potentially on top of the tie, if not slightly above it. And it's key moments of, wow, girl, wow, that did it. So, Hangsha is introduced late. She isn't in there for the first adventure, and in fact, the way she's brought into the story is kind of weird. Like, she's so 100% unrelated to anything at all, and yet at the same time, she's more connected and involved than anyone but Luo Ren so far. Like, And of course, this kind of complicated, I mean, that's... You get what I mean when you're watching it, I think. And it is explained way later in the story, but you can watch the drama for yourself to find out that part. Basically, when she first enters the story, I didn't like her. Because one, she felt like a total stereotype. Just an arrogant, spoiled rich kid. Two, she was annoyingly snobbish. And three, she was all of a sudden the best friend of Mu Dai. And I was like, but who the heck even are you? You can't just come out of nowhere as a total blank after I've already been with these characters for how long and instantly act like you know Mu Dai better than I do. She acts like Mu Dai has been her best friend for the past 5 or 6 years. Instead of someone she just met. And I'm like, what the heck, you total cheater? Plus, the way she treated Wan San was uncalled for. I mean, when she was yelling at him for giving advice to Mu Dai about Luo Ren, I was like, Hangsha, if you don't shut up right now. Because she was literally acting like she, as the brand newcomer that's known Mu Dai for less than a week and Luo Ren for less than a day, knew absolutely everything. Well, Wan San, who has known Mu Dai for a couple of years now, I think it's been, and Luo Ren for a couple of weeks at least. Plus, on top of that, guys know things about guys like girls know things about girls that the other doesn't know about them. And in general, when a guy you know and trust is telling you something about another guy, you really should consider what he's saying before throwing it away as invalid. Hangsha, you know less about the situation that he does, period, end of story. I don't know what Mu Dai has, Mu Dai confided certain things in her, yes. I don't know how much she had confided in her already by this point and how much was after this point. But either way, she really does know less. Wan San knows more. Because he's a guy, so he knows certain things about Luo Ren. He recognizes certain things about Luo Ren purely because they're both guys. And also, he has known these people for way longer than Hangsha has. So, where on earth was I in the script? However, on the part of Mu Dai at least, she did listen. Because she does trust Wan San, and you can tell. And she had already questions about this topic that he brought up. So, at least for that, I'm grateful. So it wasn't Mu Dai I was mad at here. It was just Hangsha. I'm like, you arrogant little know-it-all. Back off. Plus, since you already know that Wan San was my favorite character, I'm like, mine. Moving on from that, spoilers for what first gave Hangsha a wake-up call to maturity. My sister and I were recently talking about a book series she's reading that uses this tactic over and over because the author claimed nothing works better than this tactic. Yes, I'm being vague because it's spoilers and I don't want to give spoilers here. Nothing works better than this tactic to make characters grow. And my sister and I were like, no, it's not that simple. It entirely depends who, how, why, etc. It's way more complex. If you dumb it down and use it for nothing but a plot device, it's ridiculously insulting and disrespectful and hurtful. But in this drama, it was done right. It didn't happen just as a plot device for a character growth. I don't even know if that was supposed to be the ultimate purpose of it. But it did start Hangsha on a journey of definitively needed growth. And then came the part of the story that focused more on her, the arc that really gut-punched her. And in my video on the legend of Zhang Hai, I talked about how hard real laughter and real crying is to fake. And how lots of people can do it well, but ultimately I've realized it's not them crying that makes me cry. It's other things. It's the circumstances they are reacting to, etc., that make me cry. But I said there was one place where Zhang Hai cried where I wanted to cry because of him crying. And how powerful that was. It was because of him crying. It wasn't just the circumstance. It wasn't just what he was remembering. The way he was crying was what made me want to cry and hold him tightly and just silently cry with him. Hangsha did the same thing to me. This scene here, the way she was crying, it did the same thing as Zhang Hai. She made me want to cry. Not the circumstances. Her. I wanted to hug her so badly. Well done. So by this point, I liked her. She drew me in emotionally. We had a connection of relatable sorrow. It wasn't some kind of dramatized thing. It wasn't there was no manipulation involved. That was just real raw acting that was done so well. It got me the way it's supposed to get you. And then came the whole arc with Mu Dai's background and how Hangsha reacted with all of that. And I was like, Hangsha, you and Wan San's reaction, I tell you, you're starting to not just be likable, but kind of cool. And then came the arc with Yanhua's background. And this was where Hangsha shot up from being likable and kind of cool to being downright epic. It's a massive spoiler, but the whole way she, coincidentally, found Wan San and the strength and skill and grit and just, everything it took for her to go through all of that with him. Oh my gosh, girl! The way she reacted, everything about it, wow, girl! And it got even better because she so confidently went forward knowing she had to. She was like the heroine. It was so cool, I tell you. She did not go there and arrogantly declaring, I am the best and I know it. She wasn't walking in doing things that are unrealistic that she shouldn't have known how to do. There was none of that. She went there going, everyone needs me. We are a team. We are a group with unbreakable bonds. This is life and death. I will go forward and I will rescue my people that I care about. And that's that. And from this point on, I loved Hangsha. She went from being an immature child to being an adult. She went from being an arrogant snob to being a level-headed, strong, dependable, intelligent ally and friend. And it was so believable and so well done. She's, again, not so strong that she's completely standoffish independent. She knows she needs help, and she accepts the help, and she depends on her friends. But she's not helpless either. She depends on them, and they depend on her. And last, we will now move on to Wan San. His name is Zhang Zhao, but almost nobody ever calls him that. And yes, I will say right off the bat, the opposite of Yanhua, I am perfectly aware. He is also a character type, but the kind that I am totally instantly drawn to. And I mean the actor, guys. I loved his character in Moonlight Mystic, a drama that I absolutely hated otherwise, by the way. There was only 2 other characters that I kind of sort of liked in that one. Don't get me sidetracked. His character within that drama I loved. And I loved his character in The Wrong Carriage, Right Groom. And I'm totally looking forward to The Coroner's Diary and Pull Strings because of him. Oh man, I hope those 2 dramas don't disappoint me. Him being one of the reasons I decided to watch 7 Relics, too. It was what the drama was about. Sounded interesting, but it was also, I'm like, oh hey, I know this actor. I want to see him in more stuff. So let's watch this drama. Moving past that. 1, he's the kind of character that is very quickly the one that I'm watching almost exclusively, no matter who else is on screen, because even when he is in the background, he is active. Physically or just with his facial expressions, he's active doing something, even when he's in the background. I'm like, what you doing over there? What you doing over there? 2, he's a character that was set up with talents and things that I'm personally interested in. He's an artist, a really good one. And he's a bartender, so he works later hours, and has a certain kind of extroverted charm that catches people's attention, even though I actually would not call him an extrovert character. I'd personally say he's introverted, like me. 3, it barely comes out in the story, but he does know some magic tricks. 4, he has a past. One he keeps closely guarded because of the guilty feelings, which he covers with fierce justification, and this turns into a sort of flaw for him. Because he really is conflicted over what happened. It's like a typical revenge story where the guilty deserved judgment, but what about the people that were only sort of guilty, and the people that were completely innocent, and yet they got pulled into the judgment too? So he buries it all and doesn't talk about it and pretends like it didn't happen, yet he can't really forget about it. And then there's the part of his backstory that's mentioned, and later in the drama it heavily affects how he carries out certain actions. But at the same time, it's a part of his story that's not focused on. Jumping up and down, seriously, guys, give me more? But also, if there had been much more, it probably would have been a little too much for the story. It would have maybe been a little too distracting, and, like I said, there's only so much you can fit in a story, and then some of it is just, okay, I wanted to know this, but at the same time, now you're spending too much time, and it's getting to be too much. Even when it comes to the main characters, they have 5 main characters in this drama. If you focus equally on all of them, it's going to be a little much. So just the way he walks on screen and what he accomplishes during this one arc, you're kind of left a little odd. Like, oh, whoa, where'd that, whoa, You had that inside of you? That was the result of this? Wait, what have you been doing all these years? What kind of life did you live that you're not telling me about? Like, So that was kind of enough? Kind of not. You really want more, but that's all you get. One thing, by the way, that I either missed out or it wasn't explained was how he got the debt that earned him the nickname Wan San. Who did he owe and why? As far as I know, the story never told us, so I'm just left hanging curiously. But this character, he makes mistakes more than once, especially near the beginning of this drama. More flaws. He makes these mistakes. He's perhaps a little emotionally driven, maybe in a way more so than most of the others. I'm not sure. He is definitely emotional. He has definitive emotions. They all do. None of them are like robots. None of them are so stiff you can't figure out what's going on. They all have emotions, and those emotions are on display in various different ways. But, anyway. But the funny thing is that while he himself says possibly more than once that he is a coward, over and over and over and over again in this drama, I'm like, dude, you are literally the exact opposite of a coward. And I forget what I was watching when I basically pointed at the screen and went, that is a coward. You, Wan San, are nowhere near that. For one thing, he went into the room. Right there at the beginning of the whole story. Weird supernatural things were happening. And yet he and Yan Hua both went inside of the room rather than turning around and running away. That is not something a coward does. Why would he do that? But he did. He went into the room. And then, like I said, over and over and over again, what is a coward? Because remember, bravery is not the lack of fear. It's getting done what needs to be done despite the fear. And that's what Wan San does over and over. Even after what was done to him, he sees the guy that did it to him. He has a terrified reaction. And then he goes, but Hongsha! And he grits his teeth and he steps forward with his own life in danger and gets done what needs to be done. Oy! Oh! And he does this more than once. He is so scared here. And he was going forward anyway, by the way, like I say. He was hugging that gun and he was going forward. But then he's left behind. And you can tell he is relieved to be left behind. But he's also so upset that he's being left behind because now the people he cares about are going forward without him. And he doesn't like that. Wan San is highly intelligent and highly adaptable. He's a little awkward, and yes, he's physically weak, and he's definitively hung up on guilt and regrets from his past. They could potentially make him act like a coward in some circumstances. But he's loyal and he's willing to put himself in danger to protect the people he cares about, and he's never slow to get in the car when Luo Ren says, let's go. And I mean, it's rather funny how many times, even though in a big way he's literally the least connected to the whole thing, like especially at the start, what reason did he have to get so involved? Luo Ren and Mu Dai were already highly connected the minute we met them. And Yan Hua is trying to convince Mu Dai to take him on as a disciple. So that's why he's jumping forward, because he wants to learn martial arts. They all have specific goals that they are going to forward. But Wan San, he had no reason, as far as I could see it. He had no reason beyond the odd relationship that he has with Mu Dai. And I'm like, can you even call that friendship? They've known each other for a long time. But she sort of kind of is mean to him at first. She kind of bullies him. And it was set up like he's like a total flirt. I'm not sure how far he's ever gone with any of these women, but he is like a flirt. And so in a way, her going after him is justified. But also in a way, it's like she's a little meaner than him too should be. But I don't know. There's a hint of something there. It's one of the things there was a hint at. But it's hinted here and sort of kind of maybe referred to a few other times. But it's not a big thing in the drama. So it's like, what pulled him into this? And not only did he get pulled in, he ended up being the key in several situations. Even offhandedly, like being the driver almost every time it wasn't Luo Ren driving. He's so necessary. He's kind of downplayed, he's not that important. Or he doesn't do much, but at the same time, he's probably the one that does the most aside from Luo Ren and Mu Dai. He's not the fighter, and yet it's him that accomplishes that here and here. Anyway, with help the second time around. But still, Who is that? And who is it that ultimately did that? The way the story, I forgot to mention that, the way the story manages to get each person involved, the way that they're taken apart, so they're all doing their own places, and they're all pieces of the story, and how it all fits together in the end, and how they all manage to get involved by playing their own, it's well done. And all of this is why I love Wan San. He's as skinny as a beanpole, way more so than I realized, given the characters I saw this actor play before. Like, the fact they're wearing bulky outfits, and this is the first time I've seen him not in a bulky outfit. I'm like, dude, he's just about as skinny as Mu Dai. He is definitively handsome, and I love his smile. And even if this character is physically and mentally weak in some ways, he's also witty, and brave, and smart, and strong, and loyal, and dependable, and adaptable, and he's a survivor, and altogether, he was my favorite character from start to finish. In terms of relationships, I loved this team. Obviously, the friendships and the teamwork and the everything, I loved it. But also, Luoren and Mu Dai were such a good match. They were adorable. I was annoyed by how, like, it was at the beginning, but it was adorable by the end of it. I did love it. And just, like the trust and respect they had for each other. They worked so well together as a couple. And then, spoilers, because of how long it took, even if you do figure it out ahead of time like I did, still, you could consider this a spoiler. Wan San and Hangsha. I'm not positive how well those two will ultimately fare together. I could see some issues happening. I could see them fighting at least once a month. But seriously, the threads that pull those two together, the realization that they actually care about each other that much and why. When she wakes up and looks at him, and when he wakes up and looks at her, oh, it was so cute. And there you have it. As far as I'm concerned, it was a well-rounded, carefully, thoughtfully crafted characters that were brought to life by the original author, the scriptwriters, the directors, and the actors and actresses. That is what made this story so, so good. The story itself got high points despite its awkward, slippery sections, but the characters were the filling, the icing, and the decorations on top of this cake. A true lesson to study on how to make epic characters. That is what this drama is. You want to know how? Watch this drama. So, that's it. That's all. I'm sure I could gush for another 7 pages, but I'm stopping because you need to go and experience this for yourself. So go enjoy, and leave a comment here later to let me know the results if you want to do that. Thanks for watching. Bye.